What's up, everybody? Giancarlo Bodoni here. I'm very excited to be bringing you guys another instructional video with BJJ Fanatics. Today we covered half guard, okay? One of the most foundational, most important guard positions that you can play. At some point or another, we all find ourselves in half guard, okay? So I think it's a very important position to know very well. It's a very deep and profound topic. We go over all different variations of half guard. We talk about goal setting. We talk about grip fighting. We go over some very simple, but I think very important concepts that can make a huge difference in your efficiency from half guard, along with a myriad of different techniques. So really happy with the way this instructional turned out, and I hope you guys enjoy. See you guys there. All right, guys, so starting off with half guard, just as an introduction, let's begin to understand the criteria that we're looking to meet in order to have a good and effective offensive half guard, okay? Interestingly, half guard is one of those positions that can be very, very offensive for the bottom player, can be a very good position for the bottom player, but it could also be equally as good for the top player, okay, provided that either the top person or the bottom person get certain things going in their favor in order to make the position more favorable for them. So one of the reasons why I favor, and you see just across the board, the most high percentage passing positions come from chest-to-chest half guard. It's also one of the most high percentage offensive positions from bottom. Very, very good for reversals, very, very good for entering into your training partner's legs and getting into a variety of different attacks and submissions. So let's just quickly touch on what those criteria are from the bottom person's perspective. And then from there, we could start going into different layers of that criteria with a little bit more detail. Okay, so just kind of a general overview, kind of in a nutshell. We touched on in half guard passing, right, in the Essential Connection series, why the top person would favor half guard and how they can make it a more favorable passing position for them. Okay, we'll briefly understand why the top person would want to get to half guard. That's also going to make it easier for you as the bottom player to negate those things, okay? So understanding that the top person, the reason why they would favor half guard for passing is because it allows them to effectively pin you down before passing the guard. So it makes the act of passing the guard very, very easy. And it makes the act of holding somebody down after the pass very, very easy because they actually held you down before the pass even started. So from the bottom person's perspective, let's just move a little bit. Good. From the bottom person's perspective, we're looking to have distance, at least initially. There's going to come times where we're going to want to close distance, but primarily what we want is to avoid chest-to-chest contact. Okay, so we want distance between me and my training partner's chest. More specifically, I want obstacles between me and my training partner's chest. And those obstacles are going to come in the form of frames, okay, in the form of frames and grips that are going to prevent my training partner from being able to close that distance. So as a general kind of starting position, it's usually going to be in some sort of frame. Then we can start transitioning into grips that are going to make it very, very difficult for my training partner to effectively get a chest-to-chest position that's going to flatten us out, and we'll be able to, you know, be more offensive. But at least in the starting phase, phases here, there's going to be some sort of frames in place that are going to prevent my training partner, okay, obstacles that he has to get past in order to get chest to chest, okay? If he can pass those obstacles and he can get chest to chest, then from there, he's going to be able to start potentially controlling my head, okay, which is the second thing that my training partner is going to want to do. So if my partner gets me chest to chest, I have to deny him control of my head, okay? If he's able to get control of my head to some capacity, okay, for example, right now it's in the form of a cross face. Now from here, my training partner can begin the process of flattening me out. And if he can flatten me out, now from here, you know, the game it's going to be very much in his favor, okay? So our whole thing is to, at least initially, in a very, very general sense, I want to control the space, okay, between my training partner's arms, okay? So a lot of this criteria is going to be met by controlling the inside position, okay? The space between my training partner's shoulders, elbows, and wrists, okay? If I can control that space with either my hands or some combination of, say, for example, my hands and my legs, when he goes to get chest to chest on me, when he goes to get control of my head, okay, when he goes to flatten me out, it's going to be really, really tough, okay? So if I can negate my training partner's ability to get chest to chest, deny him control of my head, and most importantly, not necessarily most importantly, but a very, very important piece of that, for reasons that we'll talk about in a little bit, is preventing my training partner from flattening my far shoulder and hip on the floor, we're going to be looking good. We're going to be in a position where, okay, now from here, I'm in good posture, I'm in good stance, and I can begin to start my attacks. I'm going to be unable to really start my attacks if my training partner, okay, is flattening me out. Okay, if he's able to flatten me out, control my head, and things of that nature. Now from here, there's ways that I can recover, which we'll talk about. There's ways that I can potentially off-balance my training partner. I can go into recoveries and potentially even counters from this position, but my success rate is going to be significantly less than if I started in a position where my far shoulder and hip were off the floor, and from there I had effective upper, okay, and lower body connections to my partner that are going to prevent him from getting to the goals that he wants, okay, and that's going to meet the criteria that I want to have an effective and offensive half guard position. Okay, so let's start now talking about these different layers. Okay, we talked a little bit about the criteria. Let's start just now chopping it up into individual pieces and talking about the importance of each and every one of them. We'll start off with the far shoulder and hip. I don't like to necessarily say that one is more important than the other, but this one is significantly important because if you can't keep your far shoulder and hip off the floor, your success rate is going to be significantly lower. Okay, if he's able to, even if I have certain grips that may seem useful and may seem good, they can be neutralized, or at least their ability to be effective can be diminished if my far shoulder and hip are pinned to the floor. Okay, so an example of this is, say for example, I have an underhook on my partner, okay? Very, very strong attacking position. With an underhook, okay, very hard for my training partner to get chest to chest. We're going to be spending a lot of time on the use of underhooks, okay? But again, from here, he can't really get me chest to chest. He doesn't really have a strong ability to control my head and this particular position. That all changes if I have an underhook, and let's say, for example, if we rotate, if I have an underhook and my training partner is able to flatten me out, okay, and from here, yes, I have the underhook, okay, but if he's able to keep me flat, then now from here, my underhook is not very useful. My underhook is only going to be useful if I can come off of my back. If I can get my far shoulder and hip off of the floor and I can start to hike my underhook up, now I deny my training partner chest to chest. Now I can start going into the offensive movements that I'm looking for. Same thing goes with a butterfly hook. Let's say, for example, I have a half butterfly, okay? And from here, from a half butterfly, looks like I have a good position, but my training partner has flattened me out, okay? My hip and my shoulder on the far side are on the mat. And from here, I can't just look to take my training partner off of chest to chest, get his control of my head by just using my upper body, okay? He's beaten me at the upper body. My far shoulder and hip are on the floor. If I want to be useful from the half butterfly, of course, there's ways that I can recover from this position. This is by no means the end of the road here. But if I stay flat on my hip and shoulder, now from here, my training partner has more of an opportunity to be able to post inside my knee and start looking to step over. Okay, and then from there he can potentially beat, okay, my butterfly hook. Okay, so regardless of the position that you're in. I gave the example with half guard. If I'm flattened out, with the underhook. If I'm flattened out with an underhook, the underhook isn't very useful. Okay, so that's the importance of, okay, the far shoulder and the hip. Ultimately, we're in a situation where we're flattened out. We want to use and underhook. Use a butterfly hook to be able to get us back off of that far shoulder and hip. Use whatever upper body frames that we can get into place, okay, to get us off of our far shoulder and hip. So he's going to be looking to get our far shoulder and hip on the floor. It's up to us to use whatever recourse we have at that given time, whether it be a butterfly hook or an underhook or maybe some sort of upper body frame to get us back off of that far shoulder and hip and into a position where we can start being offensive. Okay, so we talked about these different little battles that are in play when we're in half guard, okay, the battle for the far shoulder and hip. At any given time, when we're playing half guard, there are two battles happening. There's the battle of the upper body, and there's the battle at the lower body. So, for example, our far shoulder, upper body, far hip, at the lower body. We need to keep in mind that there's two battles happening at once, okay? And this is kind of overlap for certain other positions in the sport. Say, for example, back attacks. You know, there's battles happening with the legs. If you're the offensive guy where you're looking to potentially trap your training partner's arms, insert your hooks, whatever the case is, and you're looking to strangle upstairs, okay? So you use those two in combination. They're supposed to be working synergistically. And the same thing goes when we're talking about half guard, okay? We have different positions that we want to have our legs in. We have different positions that we want to have our arms in, okay, our upper body in. So knowing those positions, sometimes you may lose one of the battles at the lower body, okay? Let's say, for example, I'm in half guard, and from here, my training partner, he's able to beat my knees, okay? So he starts closing in, he starts covering my hip, okay? And from here, he's looking to attempt to now start progressing forward to chest and start flattening me out. So he's effectively winning one of the battles, okay? He's winning the battle downstairs at the lower body. However, I do have good frames in place. Again, my upper body is controlling the space between his arms, between his shoulders and elbows, etc. I'm denying him chest to chest. Okay, yes, he's closing distance on me. Yes, he was able to beat my knees. Okay, I don't have knees in front of him to be able to push him, okay, on either side. And so from here, he's able to win downstairs. But I'm winning upstairs. Okay, so it's kind of a 50-50 battle here. He potentially has my far hip flat on the floor. Okay, but I have my far shoulder off of the floor, at least sufficiently enough that I'm not completely flattened out. Okay, so if we turn, he's covering my hips, okay, and he has my hip flatter on the floor. However, my shoulder is relatively off the mat, okay? I can move my shoulder because he hasn't controlled my head yet. So what we need to keep in mind here is that at any given moment, if we're losing one of these battles, okay, the one that we're winning can pick up from the slack of the one that we're losing. So if I'm losing downstairs, okay, and he's beating my knees, he's closing in distance, but I'm winning upstairs, I can utilize these upper body frames to start creating just enough space for my legs to come back in. Now I can get knees back in front of my partner. Okay, now I'm in a good position both downstairs and upstairs. Okay, so you can see how one picks up the slack of the other. Okay, if I make a mistake where my training partner beats my knees, I can use the upper body to help me recover for the loss that I had at the lower body. So it's important to understand that these two, they complement each other and they help each other in those aspects. Same thing goes if we're losing the battle upstairs. Okay, let's say, for example, we'll go on this side. My partner does a good job of beating me and controlling my head. Okay, now, turn a little bit. My shoulder is pinned down to the floor. He's controlled my head. I've lost the battle upstairs. I don't have inside position, and from here he's winning. However, I had the ability to insert a butterfly hook. You can see that my hip is slightly off of the floor. Now this guy's gonna wanna start flattening my hip. But because I have that inside position, I have the ability to take the hip off of the floor, okay? And my lower body connection, okay, my lower body inside position is gonna allow me to, even if he manages to flatten my head down to the floor, is gonna allow me to start recovering in such a way that I can reinsert, so we rotate, other way, to reinsert my upper body connection. Okay, so if I used my lower body effectively to create space. Now I can bring my hands back in and I can start looking to recover. Okay, I can go back to a half guard or I can go into other situations. Okay, but just an example of how even if we lose the battle upstairs, we're covered downstairs. Okay, now if we lose the battle in both positions, now things start to get a little bit more complicated. We'll look at later how we can recover from a situation where we're flattened out and we're losing both the upper and the lower body battles. But just understand that, you know, if you're disciplined with your upper and lower body positions, mistakes are bound to happen. You go in against good training partners, and you know they're able to get a little bit ahead on you. One will pick up the slack, okay, of the other, and they work synergistically. They complement each other in this way. Okay, guys, let's start talking a little bit about now the upper body frames in a little bit more detail. It's important to understand what each grip is doing, what each frame is doing. What's the purpose of it, right? We talked about what we're looking to avoid, but now let's understand how we can actually avoid those things, okay? We don't want to just arbitrarily have our hands somewhere just for the sake of having them there, okay? Or even if we know, okay, this is the right place to put my hands just because I told you, hey, put your hand here. It's important to understand why I need to put my hand here. What is that actually achieving? That's just going to make it so that you are, you know, much more aware of what's happening in that position, especially as a live situation is taking place. So let's say, for example, okay, I have my training partner in my half guard. We're talking about upper body frames specifically right now, okay? So we understand, okay, my training partner wants to get past my knees, okay? If he can get past my knees, then, you know, he's looking good. And now my upper body frames are really what's going to prevent him from being able to close in and get chest to chest. My opponent is looking to do exactly that. He's looking to get chest to chest. So it makes sense that, okay, and again, we're not talking about the lower body right now, but the lower body does play a strong role in that. But specifically for the upper body, okay, it would make sense for me to have obstacles in place to prevent my training partner from getting chest to chest. So my top hand in this case, because we're on our side, we have a top and a bottom arm. My top arm is almost always going to be in a cross frame here, okay, where I have my hand on my training partner's opposite shoulder, okay. This arm, especially at distance, okay, especially in a case where I have both lower and upper body frames in place, be it with a knee shield or potentially even a butterfly hook, okay, we have this much more distance. This frame is very, very strong. Very, very hard for my training partner, okay, to be able to just put his weight past this frame. So you'd be surprised even against heavier people, just this arm alone, again, provided we're off at this angle with our fore shoulder and hip off of the floor, this is going to be a very, very strong grip. If we can just have our hand right here on my training partner's shoulder with a relatively extended arm. It's not always going to be totally straight. There'll be a slight bend where it comes across the shoulders, but this cross shoulder post is very, very important. You can also play potentially with a thumb inside of your training partner's armpit, and this too is also a very good way to play with this grip, okay? If your partner starts to get a little bit closer, it becomes a little bit more of a bent frame, also still very, very important. The idea is still the same, okay? We utilize this to prevent my training partner from closing distance. In addition, this frame, the top one, is very important because there's another battle happening here, okay? And this is one that gets kind of overlooked a little bit, or at the very least, if you just understand how to use this frame, you will kind of be winning this battle even without knowing it, okay? But it's that of my training partner's head, okay? I want more or less my training partner's head lined up with mine, okay? He wants, because again, he's trying to flatten me out, his head crossing, okay, my body. And the more his head can cross my body, okay, the better it's going to be for him, okay? He has more of an ability to flatten me out. So this frame over here serves to control, not just prevent him from closing distance, but prevent him from flattening me out, okay? It's much harder for me to hold him up when he brings his head, okay, this way here, okay? It's much harder for me to withstand his weight, okay? And from here, he can start looking to bring hands inside, and then now he can start looking to collapse my frames in various ways, and then go in and start getting to his grips, okay? So it's in his best interest to want to start bringing that head across. That's why it's very important that we utilize this frame, not just to prevent him from getting close to me, but to prevent him from bringing his head across. So we can use that frame to keep that angle to where our heads are more so in line. And the more his head is in line or off to the side, that I'm facing, the better it's going to be for me. The more he can bring that head, okay, across my body. Now from here, it's going to be a lot easier for him to not only flatten me out, but potentially collapse my frames, okay, in different ways. So that's the utility, okay, of the cross shoulder post, okay. We'll come back to the top arm in a second. Let's just quickly talk about the bottom arm, okay, how we want to play here. And with this actually, just this initial position here. The bottom arm, okay, my right arm in this case, is the purpose of it, at least in a general sense, is to prevent my training partner from controlling my head. So in this starting position here, where we have our frames in place, my partner wants to come in with this hand and start looking to control my head. So if I can have something between his arm and my head, okay, that's what this right arm is for, okay, to prevent him from controlling my head with collar ties, with reverse collar ties, or what have you. Again, the closer my training partner is, the more we operate with these bent frames. So for example, an inside bicep tie is going to be our friend here, okay? The closer he is, the more I have to go to backhand frames, okay? So with a backhand frame, now from here I use the back of my hand against my training partner, and then I look to utilize the frames that I have in place, again, to get my training partner's head off and away, move my head away from him, and then from here reinsert, okay, my hand, okay, with my palm facing away from me, okay? So the closer my training partner is, the more my forearms collapse towards me, the more I play, okay? In this case, with my bottom hand is more of a backhand frame. The more I can create distance, the more I play with the forearm, and the even more distance here with both the top and bottom arm, the more we play with extended arms, okay? In this case, it's going to be more posts. So I have a top arm is this cross shoulder post. The closer he gets, okay, the more it becomes more of like a cross frame. With the bottom arm, I have a bicep post, okay? You can also post inside the wrist. We'll talk about the positioning in a little bit. But it starts off a little bit more of a post, a little bit more of a straightened arm position here. And the closer he gets, both with the top arm becomes a little bit more of a cross frame. The bottom arm becomes more of an inside bicep tie, okay, because he's gotten a little bit closer, okay? So I can't just stiff arm here and bench press him off of me. And the closer he gets with this bottom arm, the more it becomes a backhand frame, to where at least I still have the inside position. And now from here, I can start to look to inch my way, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second, inch my way back to a position where I can get my shoulders and hip off the floor and face my partner, or at least face this direction. As far as positioning the right hand, you're able to control, at least at distance, your partner's wrist. Okay, this is a very good grip. You can also take it palm up, okay, and this is also a very good grip, okay, for a variety of different reasons, depending upon what you want to do. Thumbs inside of the bicep, okay, are very good. Thumb even inside of the armpit can be good, okay. The post of the thumb, I generally prefer the bicep or the wrist, okay. The bicep is very easy to get to. The wrist, your training partner can look to pummel the hand inside a lot easier and things like that. But when you have a hand inside the thumb, if he goes to pummel that hand, okay, it's pretty tough for him to get that hand off. He tries to grab a hold of your head, okay, he'll never be able to stop this stiff arm. Okay, so this thumb post inside the elbow, very, very effective. Obviously in conjunction with a cross shoulder post, okay? Another way that we can utilize the top arm is going to be a cross lat grip, okay? Cross lat is particularly important when we're looking to get underneath our partner. When we use cross lats, maybe initially we'll have a hand inside of the arm to prevent my training partner from controlling my head. But really this cross lat is to prevent, when I'm trying to go underneath my partner, let's say for example, I'm trying to scoop into the leg, this is to prevent my training partner from crushing me in this position. So when he goes to put weight on me, you'd be surprised how much weight you could hold with this cross lat. And then we can look to redirect our training partner's weight depending upon what it is that we're looking to do, whether it be enter the legs, invert underneath, or what have you. So that's another way that we can utilize, okay, this top arm, okay, when it comes to framing, that cross lat. I don't like to just have my hand here all the time, okay? Usually this will be kind of our default, but depending on what I'm looking to do, cross lat's another position that we're gonna have our hand, okay? And when we have cross lats, now from here, when he goes to grab my head, it's easier for me to redirect his weight, okay, and get his hands to the floor. So I have a little bit more freedom with this right arm. So it doesn't always have to be inside of that bicep, okay? Couple other places that we can position ourselves is collar ties can sometimes be useful, but I would say in general, our default is going to be cross shoulder post or cross frames when my partner is a little bit closer. With the other arm, again, posts inside of the bicep, elbow area, or down by the wrist, palm down or palm up is good. And again, the closer he gets, the more we frame with the forearms. The even closer he gets, the more we're going to be forced to frame with the back of the arm. And then eventually, obviously, we're not looking to stay here, but we can usually use that to start inching our way back into a position where now we're a little bit more stable, back to our default stance. And again, we always have the opportunity to transition. Okay, and we'll look at situations where we might want to transition to cross lats, scoop grips, etc. We'll get into gripping in a little bit more detail as well. But just as our default upper body frames, just important to understand the use of those, okay? The top arm is not only to prevent him closing distance, but also prevent his head positioning. Okay, he's looking to bring that head across. I'm looking to maintain that head here so I can keep my far shoulder and hip off the floor, prevent him from getting chest to chest. And the bottom arm's main utility is always going to be to stop my training partner from controlling my head, okay? And there's always going to be some degree of a pummel happening here. He's always going to be looking to bring his hands inside, so we have to just get used to the idea of fighting and swimming, okay, for inside position. Every time he takes one of my hands off, okay, we have to get used to the idea of taking our hands, and we'll talk about kind of grip fighting sequences in a little bit, but bringing our hands back into this position. As he goes to swim a hand inside, I go to swim a hand inside, and we just keep playing, swimming with both sides. Good. We just keep playing to swim our hands in, okay, and fight to keep that inside position, control the space between my training partner's arms. Okay, so we talked a little bit about upper body framing. Now let's talk about gripping, okay, and grip fighting in a little bit more detail. We'll start off with the grips that we're going to be utilizing for the most part in this series, and then we'll talk about just some kind of strategies, concepts, just some kind of basic gripping and counter gripping that we can go about using in this when we're playing bottom half guard. Okay, so. Again, just a kind of a generic half guard situation here. We have our frames in place. Now I want to start getting some offense going. Let's start off with, we can start moving across our training partner's body. Okay, we'll start off with my training partner's arms. Grips that we are looking to get to, okay, grips that are going to be useful for us. Well, we talked about the idea that my training partner is looking to flatten me out, okay? And so when my training partner wants to flatten me out, his primary goal in most cases is going to be to get an underhook on the far side, okay? If he can successfully get an underhook and he can get past my frames, et cetera, he can flatten me out. So how can we deny my training partner an underhook, okay? Very, very good way of doing that is going to be through 2-on-1s, okay? Variations of 2-on-1. 2-on-1s at the wrist, okay, 2-on-1s at the elbow, okay, and arm drags, okay, another variation of 2-on-1. When I have any one of these grips and my training partner tries to dig an underhook, he can never do it. And actually, the more he tries to come forward, the more he'll expose, okay, his back to me, particularly on the underhook side, okay? So it doesn't make sense really for him to come forward. What you'll find is that when you make grips like this, your training partner's primary reaction is going to be strip grips and pull away, okay, and he'll start moving away from you. So that, in and of itself, makes it that even if you don't get anything offensively going with that grip, he can't close distance on you, he can't flatten you out. So it's very useful in that aspect. Again, we talked about the underhook, right? He's looking to gain a far side underhook. That's going to be a very, very useful tool for him to flatten me out. If I can get an underhook of my own, again, provided I stay off of that far shoulder and hip, this is going to be a very, very useful tool for us. Okay, now this definitely, a whizzer is not a bad tool by any means. It's a very, very good position. However, if I can get an underhook and bottom half guard, I am going to have a significant advantage. And again, if I'm on my side with this underhook, deny my training partner chest to chest, deny him control of my head, tons of different ways that I can look to attack from here. So that's definitely a grip that we're going to be looking to exploit for sure, and we're going to spend a lot of time on that one as well. Collar ties to a certain degree, something that we're going to be using. Not necessarily as much as 2-on-1s and these other grips that we're talking about, but definitely a useful grip, okay? Cross lat, as we talked about, specifically when we're looking to get underneath our partner, invert underneath, enter into legs. This is going to be very, very useful to prevent our training partner from crushing us. Shoulder crunch, okay, grip. It's going to be very, very important, okay? Scoop grips on my training partner's leg are going to be very useful as well, okay? And from a variety of different positions, not just for entering into his legs, but even in underhook situations, they're going to be very important. And 2-on-1s, obviously on the opposite arm as well. You can play it on both, okay, sides, variations of 2-on-1s, drags, etc., okay? And it's going to vary the way that we attack with these positions depending upon where my legs are, okay? Right now my legs are in a knee shield. That's going to give us certain attacks with 2-on-1s or what have you. If I have a butterfly guard, now the things change. I go from a position where, yeah, I have a very good pushing grip with a knee shield, very hard for him to crush this frame, but now I have inside position, so I can start potentially entering into my training partner's legs with a lot more ease. Okay, there's leg entries from knee shield as well, but from a butterfly guard, okay, so excuse me, a half butterfly, leg entries come very easy because we have that inside position. So that's the added benefit. So depending upon where my legs are, the attacks may vary a little bit, but for the most part, those are going to be the grips that we work with primarily. Now, a couple of important things to understand, just kind of strategically when we're grip fighting, is that no grip is permanent. So if I grip my training partner's wrist, he's going to strip that grip off relatively quickly, especially as things start to get sweaty, okay, and we start, really getting into a heated match. He's going to be reluctant to accept grips for any amount of time. So we have to get into kind of grip fighting sequences where anytime my training partner goes to break one of my grips, particularly at the wrists, okay, but in any position, my training partner goes to break one of my grips, it's going to offer us opportunity to enter into another grip. And usually 2 to 3 of these gripping sequences in is where I start to get into my breakthroughs. So let's say, for example, I come out and let's say, for example, I have like a half butterfly, right? And I come out and I do a good job at taking a 2-on-1 on my training partner's arm. Okay, on my training partner's near side arm. Now from here, this guy's going to go in and he's going to start addressing my grip. He's going to start taking my wrist off, and then from here he breaks my grip. And if I don't know how to re-grip from here, I'm just going to be back to square one. So the moment that I take a 2-on-1, he goes to fight my grip, I go in and I go to the opposite side. Okay, and now from here I can peel that grip off and start going into that far side 2-on-1. Okay, my training partner goes to break my grip again, and we can go through and we can start repeating this process and fighting my training partner's grips. Okay, so anytime my training partner takes a grip, anytime my training partner breaks one of my grips, he's going to offer us opportunities to get a hold of his wrist on the opposite side. So if I go to hold my partner's wrist on this side, I have his wrist. We take the grip off. Now all of a sudden, I'm in opportunities to enter into arm drags. Okay, if I take a 2-on-1 on this side, he strips my grip off. I take a cross wrist, and now all of a sudden I'm in opportunity to start entering into 2-on-1, okay, elbow or wrist on the opposite side. Okay, so every time my partner goes to strip off one of my straight grips, we have a straight grip of his. Okay, anytime my training partner goes to break one of my cross grips, we have a cross grip of his. Okay. So that's very, very important. Also, with that in mind, anytime my partner makes a grip, let's say, for example, he's trying to pin my wrist down to the floor, we're going to have access to his grips. Okay, so we're going to be able to strip a grip off and then from here go into attacks of our own, say, for example, 2-on-1s, okay, and converting that into drags. When it comes down to, for example, combining at the upper and the lower body. Let's say, for example, from here, I do a good job at getting into my training partner's upper body with some sort of a shoulder crunch grip. He pulls away from this grip. As he pulls away, he gives me opportunities to start going in and getting to my training partner's legs. If my training partner pulls away from this 2-on-1, again, from here, I can strip the grip off, and from here, create a situation where I can go in to my partner's legs, okay? And potentially, now I can start entering into the lower body. So, just a basic, in a nutshell, kind of in a very general sense, understanding the grips that we have, why we would potentially want those, and how we can start combining those grips, how we can start chaining them together. And as we start going further and further into techniques, we'll start putting it more and more. We won't just look at the singular techniques. We'll start looking at a kind of context, right, where I try to do something and that would create the opportunity for me to enter into the technique that we're going to look at. Okay, so just some basic ideas on grip fighting, okay, and the grips that we're going to be looking to utilize in the rest of this series. All right, guys, so when we're playing half guard, we have to prepare for the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario is going to be, okay, we get beaten at both the upper and the lower body and we get flattened out. Okay, we have to learn how to recover from these positions so we can get back to our offense. So when we get flattened out, okay, we're looking at this from the worst case scenario. My training partner has gotten inside of the upper body and he's beaten me at the lower body. Okay, the first question we need to ask ourselves from here is, well, if my training partner is kind of relaxed in this position, a little bit lazy, you might have opportunities to start swimming hands back in. Okay, and if you can do that either here or here, that's definitely great. But provided that he's in so tight that I can't seem to get my hands in. Okay, let's rotate. The first thing we need to ask ourselves is my training partner's knee of the trapped leg on the floor? Okay, is the mic covered? Yeah, you're good. Good. Is my training partner's knee of the trapped leg on the floor? Okay, if my training partner's knee of the trapped leg is on the floor, we can go into this next move, okay, which is a knee lever, okay? It's important that for this move, there's weight on the knee, okay? So my training partner's knee actually has to be weighted, it has to be touching down on the mat, okay? From here, what we're gonna look to do is my half guard leg, okay, my right leg in this case, I'm going to curl my heel to my butt and I'm going to step down on the mat, okay, as close to my training partner's knee as I can. My other foot is going to go in one of a few places. We can go bring our feet very close together. We can go foot over foot where I step on my own shoelace, or if possible, you take your foot all the way to the outside of your training partner's knee, okay? So as long as your feet are relatively close together, and close to your training partner's knee, this will work pretty well, okay? I generally find that the easiest for me is foot over foot, okay? If I can step on my own foot, then I usually can do this move pretty easily. But you can have your feet close together, okay, like kind of foot to foot, side by side, and I sometimes find it a little bit difficult to do this one when I'm completely flattened out, or look at a different variation of knee lever. But if I can get my foot all the way next to my training partner's knee right here, okay, that's also going to work well, okay? I'll just demonstrate it from foot over foot. It's the one that I use the most, is I take my 2 feet together, and from here, I want my right knee right there on my training partner's near butt cheek, okay? So I don't want it on this side. I want to bring it so that it's right here on the knee of the half guard leg. I step foot to foot, and I pinch my 2 knees together. Okay, once I pinch my 2 knees together, my hips come ever so slightly off the floor, literally just hovering. So you can barely even tell that they come off the floor, but you should be able to just fit, okay, your hand underneath your hip. Okay, so very, very tight pinch of my 2 knees, back heel and step on the floor. There's weight on my 2 feet and there's weight on my partner's knee. And right when I pinch my 2 knees together, for the purposes of this one, because we're going to use it as a reversal, we're also going to trap my training partner's arm here. Okay, so he has a head and arm. I'm just going to block my partner's arm here. You don't need to put an overhook, just place your arm here, okay, blocking the elbow. As I connect my 2 knees, when I go to hit this move, I want my hips off the floor and I just snap my hips in this direction, okay? My other hand, we'll rotate in a second, is pushing on either my partner's hip or on my partner's lat rib cage area. So either on the hip or on the rib cage. And because I trapped the arm, I was able to collapse it. Now from here, I can just finish that movement, start looking to come up on top, okay, and get into good position on top, okay? Let's just rotate. So once I'm here, he's flattening me out. This is no good. My first thing I ask myself is his half guard leg knee on the floor? In this case, it's his right leg. The knee is on the floor. You can generally feel that his knee's on the floor by just using the sensitivity of your feet. And from here, I just take my foot flat on the floor. I take my other foot directly on top and I pinch my two knees together. My hips float. It's just above the mat. It's not going to work if my feet come off as my hips are on the mat. So I pinch my two knees, I lift my hips off the mat, and from here I trap one arm and I post either on the hip or on the ribs or on my partner's lat muscle. Okay? So from here I post on the hip, pinch, lift, and snap. Okay? And then right from this position, we just come up to our elbow. And because I have the underhook on this side, even if he goes to come up to his elbow, I can usually return him to the mat pretty easily because of this underhook, and I can come up on top. And the good news about this is that he was chest to chest, so because I got the reversal, I finished chest to chest, and now I'm in a good position to start passing, okay? Sometimes when I hit this move, other side. Sometimes when I hit this move, what you'll find is that I pinch, I take my partner over, and right from this, I take my partner over, and then from here, as I go to get up, he quickly goes to get up. Okay, like this, up on your knees. Good, and he starts coming back on top. So what I can do is I can utilize a secondary attack where from here, I tilt my partner over. As I go to get up, he goes to get up too. And I use my foot here as a sumigashi hook. And as he goes to get up, I just control my training partner's forearm, and he goes to come on top of me. I just use that sumigashi hook to send him on over. So let's do that a little bit more continuous. He's flattening me out. I hit that knee lever, and we use that sumigashi hook, okay, to follow him over. Okay, you just scissor your legs to come on top. One more time. We tilt. He goes to get up. We just finish, okay, with the sumigashi hook, okay? Another thing that we'll add is that if you pay attention to my legs, common mistake that I see a lot of people make is that when they step their feet together, they give a good pinch of their knees. They even lift their hips off the floor, but when they go to snap their hips, what happens is they open one knee and then they try to push with the other knee. And this doesn't give a very, very good effect. You have to keep your knees pinched together and turn them, okay, at the same time. Okay, so you have to really snap your hips and point your knees, okay, at the same time. For the purposes of this one, we trapped his arm. So he didn't have a base of support on that side. So we post on the hip or on the rib cage, we trap the arm, I hit that snap, and we end up on top. And if my training partner tried to come up, we just use this hook right here on your partner's leg. We trap your training partner's forearm, and when he goes to come on top, we just send him back to the mat a second time, end up on top, combining the knee lever, okay, with a little sumigashi action to end up on top. So guys, a knee lever is obviously very useful for potentially sweeping your partner, but we always have to be prepared for that failure, okay? And we have to understand that there's always gonna be a resisting opponent, and most of the moves that you attempt are gonna fail, so we're gonna have to be reliant upon the follow-up move. Just like we saw with the knee lever. I could take my training partner over, but he might look to recover. If I don't have that secondary option of the sumigashi, he might end up on top. Now, I might be able to recover, get my knees and elbows back inside and get to a good half guard. That's totally fine. But if I could end up on top with a secondary attempt, like we saw with the previous technique, just inserting that hook as he goes to scissor his legs and come on top, then that's going to be even better. Our success rate is going to be much, much higher. Now this time, we're going to look at a situation where we're unable to, we off balance our partner, but we're unable to keep his arm trapped, okay? Or maybe we don't trap it at all to begin with. Maybe it's with the intention of going into the move that we saw, or maybe he just did a good job of posting his hands. Whatever the case is, we are in half guard. We get flattened out. We do a good job of hitting the knee lever, but my training partner is able to take his right arm and post it on the mat. Now the knee lever, okay, is failing. Okay, he's still kind of on top of me. He was able to base out with the left hand. However, he had to remove the underhook, which gives me an opportunity to do one of two things. One, I could just reinsert my frame. Okay, and if I reinsert my frame, when we go to recover, he's still beating me at the lower body, but we're winning at the upper body, and we can make up, okay, for that slack like we talked about. Even better would be, instead of going to our base position, we go into more of an offensive position. Okay, one of the grips that we talked about in the grip fighting sequence that we can start, going into attacks from. So we hit that knee lever, bump our training partner. Now we swim an underhook of our own. Okay, and my hand goes right underneath his armpit. If I just keep my hand here, my training partner is just going to collapse my elbow, keeps his chin over my elbow. Now my underhook's flattened out. He still has his arm around my head, so he still has control of my head. So potentially here he could flatten me out. So I have to utilize his underhook effectively. So when I bump him, we take the underhook. His knee comes off the floor. His weight is off in that direction. Okay, off to, in this case, it's my left. As he goes to recover and bring his weight back on top of me, we have to use that momentum. I take my hand, I turn my palm facing up as I bridge off the mat, and I take everything in the opposite direction here. Okay, I cut my elbow inside, and then from here we come in and we get a hold of the waist. Now your training partner is going to be forced to put a whizzer on. Now you're in a much better version of half guard because I have one of the grips that we talked about. Not only do I have that, but again, I'm on my side. I'm off my far shoulder and hip. So when he tries to get chest to chest, it's going to be very difficult. When he tries to flatten me out, it's going to be very difficult. And we'll look at a whole bunch of offense from this underhook position, but we are able to go from a position of where he has the advantage, okay, where he has met all the criteria that he wants as the top player, to a position where not only do I recover, but I recover to an advantageous position. Okay, so if we just change the angle. Super important, the secondary part, not just fitting the hand in. Don't be satisfied with just getting your hand in as an underhook. Go the extra mile, go that extra step to get all the way onto your side and face the opposite direction. I'm flattened out now, my far shoulder and hip are on the floor. This guy's in good position. I step, I knee lever, I post, he bases out. I swim the underhook. Even as we're coming back, pay attention to my left hand rotating, palm up, and going diagonally over his right shoulder. So almost like I want to reach, okay, for that corner of the room over there. At the same time, my knees are going to point to the right, and I'm going to push off of the mat. So right as we go to recover, my hand goes all the way to the armpit. Okay, don't just have it anywhere. If you just have your hand just arbitrarily placed here, he's just going to collapse the arm. So when we take him over, watch as my palm goes up, I reach for the corner of the room, and I hit a nice bridge, okay, that takes us all the way in the opposite direction. Now from here, I can get to the waist. Go back, rotate. I can get to the waist, and I can cut my elbow inside the knee. Okay, and then from here we could start going into a bunch of different offensive techniques from here. Okay, but again, we don't just recover, we recover to an advantageous position, and that underhook specifically we're going to be spending a lot of time on later on in the video. Okay guys, now let's look at how we can address a head and arm. We're going to look at this in a couple different ways, but we'll just look at it just kind of a general overview of what makes the position strong and how we can look to make it easier for us to get out of this position. So situation where, again, my training partner has me flattened out, they have my head controlled, and they have an underhook, okay? Obviously, if he's relaxed here and loose and I'm able to slip a hand in, by all means go ahead and do that, okay? And again, there's ways that we could potentially, like we saw with the knee lever, for example, we can off balance him, get him posted, and then potentially slip a hand in. It's all going to have to start with some degree of an off balance, that gets my training partner into an extended position where I can start slipping my hands back inside, okay? But we're flattened out here, so let's understand what's happening here. If his knee is on the mat, knee lever is going to be the first option. But your partner understands that the knee lever is an option if his knee's on the mat, and so he'll often opt to take his knee off of the mat. And he'll kind of tilt his hips off to an angle to where now his knee's off the mat. You guys can't see it from this angle, but we'll rotate in a second. His knee is off the mat, so I can't knee lever him. Okay, it's not going to work unless the knee is weighted. Okay, so when we get into this position here, okay, what we're going to look to do is we want to take his head from across my body, okay, to inline or to the opposite side. So we talked about that cross frame before, and now that cross frame is meant to prevent my training partner from getting his head across, or that cross shoulder post. It helps mitigate that head positioning of his. So that's clearly a big problem in this circumstance, okay, because now he can pin that far shoulder to the floor. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a hand on my training partner's hip. We're going to put my other hand almost as if I wanted to touch my hands together. And I use my bicep, okay? From here, big problem is people try to fit their hand in when there's no space, and you end up in this kind of awkward position when your hand is, where your wrist is bent and you're trying to fit it in. That's no good. And people try to move your training partner's head in a strange way. Just place your hand on your partner's lat like you want to reach for his hip, and post on your training partner's hip with the opposite hand. So right hand posts on the hip, left hand reaches almost as if I wanted to touch my two hands together. Now from here, the most important thing is that I start to shrimp and I start to straighten my right arm, but most importantly, I use my bicep, and again, we use this kind of palm up rotation to start moving my partner's head to the center. Once I get his head to the center and my shoulder comes off the mat, this gives me an ability to extend my head away. Okay, and once my head moves away, now from here, depending upon what's available, I'm going to be able to slip a knee in front. Okay, on the bottom side, I'll potentially be able to slip a knee inside on the top side, or I'll potentially be able to slip a butterfly hook in on this side. Okay, if I can't do any of those things, I will still be able to potentially start bringing hands back inside. So I'm going to win in some capacity, either at the lower body or at the upper body. Okay. Turn this way. Now, very important detail here. He has me flattened out. I post on the hip. I can't knee lever because his knee's off the mat. We place a hand on the hip, elbow tucked in tight. We place the other hand across the back. As I start to shrimp out, initially, my inside leg, my foot goes up and my knee points down. So both my kneecap and my toes point down to the floor. So as I start this shrimping action and I start reaching for my hand, turning my palm in this direction, my knee does this. Knee points to the floor, toes point to the floor, like so. Now, once I get into this position here, my outside leg is going to come over the back, in as a butterfly hook, or in as a knee shield, depending upon what it is that I want, okay? Or what it is that is available here, okay? If my training partner is in very, very tight, I'm gonna be unable to get a knee shield or a butterfly hook, we can take the foot over the back. Regardless, now from here, I wanna start getting my bottom knee free, okay? So my knee's pointed down to the floor. What we're gonna look to do under these circumstances is take my hips underneath my partner, I shovel my hips in, and I start pulling on my training partner's arm, and my knee points up. And I extend his knee, okay, away from his elbow. Okay, pull his elbow up with me. And then from here, depending upon what I want to do, I could potentially go back into a closed guard, or, okay, at the very least here, I can look to just push my training partner away with that knee, start bringing my hands back in, and then look to recover back to a neutral, or at least a good attacking position for me. Okay, let's rotate this way. We could potentially, again, pay attention to my right knee. My right knee is currently pointed up and my toes are pointed up. As we start reaching, rotating, moving his head, my knee points down, and I'm either gonna, 1, insert a knee shield, 2, insert the butterfly hook, both of which will give me that position at the lower body where I'm winning, okay? And I'm able to use those to start creating space. And then again, picking up for the slack at the upper body where I'm losing that battle, I can use the butterfly hook, start moving my training partner out and away, reinserting hooks. I can do the same with the knee shields where I can get my head away from my partner. It's all gonna be about moving my head away, creating that distance where we're lined up to each other, and then I can start bringing my hands back in place. Or if none of those things are available, we can just put our foot over the back, or we can keep our foot down on the floor with our knee close to the hip. And from here, my knee goes from pointed down to pointing up, and we take the elbow with us. Okay, and once we take the elbow with us, we have the option of recovering guard, or from here, we can just use that knee, rotate all the way. We can use all the way. We can use that knee coming in front of the hip to again push, get my knee out and away. He doesn't have an ability to post on that knee because I was able to pull his elbow away. And then from here, we can start looking to bring hands back inside and look to recover. Okay, so just in a general sense, that's kind of being the basic order of operations for us dealing with that head and arm when we're flattened out. There's gonna be a couple of other methods that we use that kind of all follow that same sequence of looking to get his head across of our body, reinsert some sort of lower body connection, get our head away, create space to then get our hands back in, and then recover that position. All right, guys, now let's look at a leg pummel where we insert a butterfly hook, and then we use the butterfly hook to help us recover that position. So we saw a situation where in the previous one where we moved our training partner's head, we hit sort of a knee elbow type escape, okay, on the near side. This time we're gonna enter in with a butterfly hook on the, on the far side. This time we're gonna enter with a butterfly hook on the near side, okay? So we're gonna go into half butterfly. So this guy once again has us flattened out. Okay, and he's beating us both upper and lower body, okay? And this is gonna be a problem. He's gonna be driving all the way in this direction, and he's gonna be able to have a high likelihood of passing from here. So there's something that I have to do. He takes his knee off the floor, okay, to kill that knee lever. So now I have to go into some alternative option. Okay, let's do a 180. In this case, we're gonna use a butterfly hook, okay? You could just attempt to take that same method that we saw of reaching for your opposite hand, rotating and shrimping out to then, just keep your knee off the floor. Good, keep this knee in my hip, good. To from here, come off onto our side, okay, we use that bicep to bring his head in line with me. The more his head's across, the more he can keep me flat. So from here, I have to use that hand right here. He's gonna make a strong body. Watch how as I make this adjustment of reaching for my hand that's posted in on the hip, he keeps his knee off the floor, good strong body positioning. And from here, watch as how I reach and I shrimp, I can get his head offline, and that's gonna create opportunities for my instep to go right there into my partner's knee. And then from here, we have a butterfly hook. Off of that butterfly hook, when he goes to drive me flat, we can use that butterfly hook to off balance my partner in both directions. So I can take him into the left and I can take him to the right. Okay, and both are going to be very good for getting my partner basing out, bringing hands back in, and recovering, okay, into a good position here, okay, either some form of open guard or back into a half, okay, butterfly guard, okay, where I just have the half guard leg and a butterfly hook in place. Now, are you always going to be able to just pummel that butterfly hook in? Not always, okay? You go against a good player, I start moving his head, that's great, but he starts walking me flat, and I feel like I can never get that hand in. Twist your hips a little bit more. Good, like this. And I just feel like he keeps my hip flat on the floor. Every time I go to shrimp out, yeah, I can move his head, but I can't get my hip off of the mat. So you end up in this position where I can't quite pummel that butterfly hook in. So under these circumstances, what we're going to do is we're going to put a little trick with our feet. Right from here, I'm going to step with my half guard leg on my training partner's Achilles. When I do this, I don't want to just remove my foot. I'm doing it right now just to show you guys where I want to step.
But what I want to do is I never want to leave my foot free to where this guy can time it and quickly kick out, okay, or pummel over or whatever the case is. Okay, if I just remove my leg, he just steps out, and then that's it, he's passed. So from here, we're going to play a little trick where I just hook my other foot over temporarily with my heel so that I can find my partner's Achilles or calf, anywhere that I can step on my training partner's foot. Very important when we're here that we use the sensitivity of our feet to feel when my partner wants to step out, okay? Because at some point I'm going to have to remove this leg. So I'm going to have to rely on the stickiness of my right foot on my partner's Achilles or on his calf to be enough for a split second to make sure that I don't get my guard passed, okay? But this guy's doing such a good job at keeping me flat that I don't have the angle to pummel. So what we're gonna look to do is I'm gonna make that switch. I'm gonna step right there on his Achilles. I'm again gonna try to move my partner in this direction, and right when he goes to flatten me out, I just push and I feed that foot into that butterfly hook. So I push it and I feed it into the butterfly hook, then it comes right back over again. When I make that switch, I have to use the sensitivity and the stickiness of my foot. So if he tried to kick out quickly, we're sticky and we can just form a little pass off. Okay, you can see that from here, I just push the foot. And every time he goes to try to move it, I follow and I just feed it right in. Now I push it down, the hook is in and supported, and then from here, we just reinforce with that top leg. And once again, we can move our training partner in both directions, this way or that way, to start swaying my partner over and off balancing with that butterfly, or with that that half butterfly hook. Okay, so in a little bit more detail now, the off balancing portion. We'll go to the other side. Partner flattens us out. Let's just turn up a little bit. Yeah, this way, good. So again, he flattens us out, and now from here, again, we're posted in on the hip. We try to get our elbow inside, okay, with the hand on the hip. We reach, and I'm looking to get that angle, but I just can't do it because he keeps flattening me out. Every time, let's rotate a little bit. I try to get that angle, but he keeps me flat. I'm moving his head, but I can't pummel that hook in. So from here, we play that little trick. Hook goes over, and we find the Achilles. I use the sensitivity of my foot to feel when he wants to step out. Again, this leg is gonna have to come out to be the butterfly hook. So if he tried to kick out quickly, we have to follow, we push, and we feed it. And a lot of times what I like to do is take my foot over top of it, because he's gonna be looking to try to kick out here. So we just stay sticky, okay? It doesn't have to make your leg tense. You just have to maintain contact with your foot. So curl and contour your foot around your partner's Achilles. So when he goes to move it around, you should just be able to just play and follow and stay sticky with it. And then from here, we just feed it in. And as he goes to try to continue to kick it out, I just push it down as I lift my butterfly hook. And then from there, hook goes over and reinforces. Now when I want to off balance him, from here, if I want to take him to my left, okay, let's say, for example, I try to start moving him in this direction and he really goes to reinforce and flatten me out, okay? Why would he want to flatten me out? Because again, we talked about this. Turn. Even though I have a good position technically, right? I have that butterfly hook, I have the inside position. My far shoulder and hip are on the floor. There's still a potential for him to pass me here. It's not necessarily, I'm on the right path, but I'm not in the greatest position that this could potentially be, right? So what we want to look to do is we want to over exaggerate that off balance in the direction that he's going to look to recover. So if I'm looking to take him this way, okay, again, I use my bicep to move my partner's head, and I use my butterfly hook to start lifting him in this direction. When we're tight, when I just insert that butterfly hook, everything's going to be very, very tight. His legs are going to have a lot of tension running through them. Yep, good. I'm not going to get a whole lot of movement from this initial position, right? I try to move his head. There's not a whole lot of movement. There's tension. He's locked in tight. He realizes that butterfly hook's come in, and from here he only has a few seconds to clear it. As he flattens me out, we push on the hip and we take him a little further than he wanted to go in that direction. So I redirect him in the direction he was forcing me, okay, as a reaction to that initial off balance. That initial off balance didn't have a whole lot of effect. I wanted to take him this way. He was locked in tight. I just inserted that butterfly hook. He flattens me out. We just post on the hip and we get him going this way. Okay, and then from here, a bunch of different ways that we can go, okay, to get into my train to recover. Okay, we can go into butterfly guard. We can go into my training partner's legs. Okay, all stuff that we'll touch on, okay, in a little bit. But the main thing is we use that redirection. Same thing goes in the opposite direction. If I take my partner, let's say for example, I go to the other side. Let's say I went into that whole process, right, of going in, feeding my partner's hook, and I come in here. Let's say, for example, maybe he's pushing me to flatten me out, and I start looking to take him this way, but maybe he posts a hand, for example, and I'm unable to take him that way. When he goes to press back off of that hand, the initial off balance in this direction fails. Guess what? We use that same movement to hit almost like we wanted to go for a sumigashi, I suppose, but just an off balance in this direction that gets him posted out, okay? And again, from here, hands can go back in. He goes to recover. We're in half butterfly once again, and we're looking good. So we use those multiple directions of an off balance to sway my training partner. As long as my shoulder and hip are on the floor, even if I have a butterfly hook, he still has a chance to clear it. So it's very important that we use those off balances, get our shoulder and hip off of the mat, and we have to use it in multiple directions. He resists us one way, we take him the other way, and vice versa. Okay, so now let's look at another method for recovering from a flattened out half guard. This time we use a kipping method. Kipping method is going to be primarily when we want to go in and insert a knee shield. I find that it's very useful at getting a knee shield in. So we saw a little technique, a little trick that we can play with our legs to insert a butterfly hook. This time we'll go in and we'll start looking to insert a knee shield, okay? So we're flattened out once again. This guy takes his knee off the floor. He's in good position. There's good tension running through his legs, et cetera, et cetera. What we're going to do is we're going to sway our legs. Okay, so we're going to create this kind of rocking motion. You're going to play with a combination, okay, of bridge and kip, okay, bridging and swaying. So maybe, for example, from here, I tried to move my training partner and I tried to go into the first technique that we saw, okay? This guy goes to flatten me out. I sway him one way, and then I sway him the other way just to get a little bit more of that reaction. As I go in, I hit that second sway, make a strong, tense legs, good. I go in, let's say, for example, I was trying to shrimp him out. He goes in and he starts flattening me out. I'm shrimping, I'm trying to get that angle. 1, 2, kip, 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 and we get our knees inside, okay? So we use that back and forth rocking action, and as we're swinging back in this direction, we start hitting that kip, and we use that to then insert, okay, the knee, okay? So you guys can see it here. I'm looking to, we'll just retouch on the first technique. Turn your hips. Good. So the first one is I moved his head. I inverted that knee and I was able to get it inside, or I was able to get this inside. I'm trying, let's move a little bit. I'm trying to hit that. I'm trying to get his head off of that from across my body. I'm trying to get him center with the head. As I'm trying to get him center with the head, I'm shrimping and it's not working. So then we hit a quick 1. He's going to go to recover, kip, 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 and we use that kipping motion to get our knees inside, okay, in conjunction with the post on the hip and with the head moving his arm across. When we go and we hit that kip, it's important that when you sway, similar to the knee lever, we don't want to open one leg and then try to follow. You don't want to flail your legs, okay? You want to keep your legs close together and kip, kip, kip to create those little waves, that little shaking action that gives me just enough space to get my knee inside. Okay, so one more time. Again, we're attempting to use this idea. His head is across my body, flattening my hips, okay, and my shoulders. Okay, he's winning the battle at the upper and the lower body. So we post on the hip whenever possible. And now from here, he's got the underhook. So the best we can do is use our bicep here. I go like I want to reach for that opposite hand to invert this knee. So I start that shrimping action to get his head to the center. And as he flattens me out, we swing one way. He's probably not going to tilt that far. So just goes, we swing one way, he resists, we come the other way, and we hit that kipping action. Notice that my legs never flail and separate. So as from here, as I go to shrimp, he goes to recover, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, kips until we can get a knee inside. Now once the knee's in, when he goes to flatten me out, we can always use that knee to push him away. Okay, notice that the knee shield doesn't matter what upper body connection he has, okay? When I have a knee inside, we go 1, 2, flattens me out. He still has his head and arm. Nothing's changed. He goes to flatten me out. Doesn't matter. I can always use that knee shield to move me away. Very, very useful. Slip one hand in, slip the second hand in. No matter how hard he goes to hold on, we'll always be able to break that grip. And now from here, we can start going to work, okay, from whatever position we want from there. Okay, we control the inside space, so we have a ton of options. But you could just play from a knee shield half guard. Last thing I'll add is that when we go and we insert that knee shield, make sure that you don't Make sure that you don't insert the whole shin. Just insert the kneecap and maybe that just initial portion of the shin. Okay, that's going to be more than enough. And when you want to create pressure in the hip, when we do that kip, where we swayed him, kipped out in this way, and we get in here, when he goes to push into me, if my whole shin is in, he's going to collapse my, he's going to collapse my knee. When my kneecap is in, I don't want to just have my kneecap in, but I want my feet hovering over each other. So now from here, when he goes to pressure in towards me, I can always move my head away. There's a lot more tension in the hip. And then from here, hands come in, we break those grips, okay, we get to our finish, all right? All right, guys, now let's look at another method that we can use to recover when we're flattened out, this time using a windmill method. This one's gonna give us a little bit more horsepower than the previous ones, okay? And so it's gonna create for a bigger off balance. And again, we can combine all of these with each other, but this one's gonna create for a bigger off balance, a little bit more of a bridging effect. And the whole idea with these is just to get our training partner's hands posted on the mat wide so we can recover our position, okay? With this one in particular, again, similar to the knee lever, very good at setting up an underhook, okay? Because you get your training partner's hands posted out wide, it makes it easy for you to swim those hands back in, okay? So this time, we are in half guard, and again, flattened out, same idea here. And again, that knee lever is not available because your training partner takes the knee off the floor. And maybe from here, I've attempted to use some of the other methods and it's just not working. I want something that's gonna give me a little bit more of a, of an assertive and an aggressive way of getting out, okay? This is when we're gonna use a windmill type action with our arms, okay? The idea remains the same, that we need to get his head over and in this direction. Okay, so the more I can get my training partner's head lined up with mine, the easier it's gonna be for me to straighten out, square up to him, get my knees in, and my upper body frames back in place. Only this time, when we do it, I'm gonna block my training partner's knee. So he's forced to base out with the hand and relinquish the crossface. So we're in this position, he's flattening us out. We just hit this whipping motion with our arms. I block my training partner's knee with my right arm, okay? As my left arm moves my training partner's head. You don't wanna hit your training partner's head, but you wanna kind of assertively shove his head out of the way, okay? He's gonna be doing everything he can to drive his head down towards the mat. So we bring our half guard leg in nice and tight. We post the ball of our foot into the mat. I wanna get some good height with this bridge. So when you do it, make sure you're posting the ball of your foot. We'll change the angle in a second. So our heel comes very close to our butt, and I post the ball of my foot on the mat as I whip and I windmill. And when I do so, I block the knee. So when he goes to, if he doesn't do anything, he's gonna get rolled over. So he's gonna be forced to relinquish the crossface and maintain top position. So, okay, it's a pretty natural response. They feel like they're going over, they're gonna post the hand. So right when we hit that bridge, he's gonna be forced to post that hand. Okay, so you get height and a little bit more horsepower. Now, immediately upon this, right when the hand is posted, my hand that was down by the knee, so I blocked his knee from basing out, my hand that was down by the knee stays palm up and just catches right here at the wrist. The reason why it stays palm up is that when he goes to re-grip my head when we recover,
he won't be able to do so. When he tries to pummel that hand in, it's very, very tough. And when he goes to pull the hand away, okay, you can only pull it away so far. Okay, it's going to be very easy for me to start bringing hands back in. Now, when I hit that bridge and we catch, now from here, I generally recommend taking advantage of that extension, cutting the elbow back and start digging that underhook, because now you're in a great position to start attacking with underhook. You're not limited to underhook. You can use the underhook to then get into other things. You can use it to start creating space for, say, for example, a butterfly hook, okay, or a knee shield. You can use it to set up a variety of different things. But the main idea here is that we create that extension, we get that post, and we cut the elbow back and around, okay, for that underhook, for that tight waist. If we switch sides, pay attention to my my left leg, okay, the bridging leg. We hit that whip. I don't want my foot just anywhere. Try not to keep your foot flat. Try to keep your foot as close to your butt as possible. So curl your heel towards your butt as far as it'll go, and then place the ball of your foot on the mat. This will just give you a lot more height off of that bridge. And it's very important that from here, not only do I bridge, I don't want to bridge straight up, I want to bridge over my right shoulder, so my hips should face that direction. So my right knee is going to point out in that direction. As my left knee gives me power, my right knee gives me direction. So when I go to hit that whip, it's going to give me that height with the left leg and the direction with the right. Notice my hips, chest, face, everything goes in this direction. His hand posts, so we take that palm up grip, elbow comes around, and we cut it underneath so that I can get to that underhook, and off of that underhook, now we can go into all of our underhook attacks, okay, from that position. But just a really good way for us to get our training partner out of balance when he's flattened us out. It's a little bit more horsepower, but it does create a good amount of extension, and it's going to give you plenty of room to be able to get your frames back in place and get back to an offensive position.